cast, Akshno, resides, Smita, loving, Smita, smiles, and accompanied by abundant, Prasadam, full of grace, you should contemplate Chiram for a long time. Bhavana with devotion. In the heart. Tasya kripaya tivoram. Tasya adhikam kripaya tivoram. Taparayupasamaya nishtamachno. Taparayupasamaya nishtamachno.
Tasyavalokam kripayati ghora. Tapatrayopasamanaya nishtitam akshano. Snigdasmitam gumitam vipula prasadam. Jayeshchiram vipula bhavanaya guhayam.
Tasyavalokam kripayati ghora. Tapatrayopasamanaya snigdasmitam gunitam vipula prasadam. Jayeshchiram vipula bhavanaya guhayam.
Tasyavalokam kripayati ghora. Avalokamanitam Vipayati Gora
Tapatrayopashamanaya Nishrishtamakshno
Tapatrayopashamanaya Nishrishtamakshno
Snigdhanugulitam Vipula Prasadam
Snigdhanugulitam Vipula Prasadam
Yayechiram Vipula Bhavanaya Duhayam
Yayechiram Vipula Bhavanaya
Tasyavalokamanikam Kripayati Gora
Tasyavalokamanikam Vipayati Gora
Tapatrayopashamanaya Nishrishtamakshno
Tapatrayopashamanaya Nishrishtamakshno
Snigdhanugulitam Vipula Prasadam
Snigdhanugulitam Vipula Prasadam
Yayechiram Vipula Bhavanaya Duhaya
Yayechiram Vipula Bhavanaya Duhaya.
Translation by His Divine Grace. Yogis, the yogis, should contemplate with full devotion the compassionate glances frequently cast by the Lord's eyes, for they soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of His devotees. His glances, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace. Purport. As long as one is in conditional life in the material body, it is natural that he will suffer from anxieties and agonies. One cannot avoid the influence of material energy, even when one is on the transcendental plane. Sometimes disturbances come, but the agonies and anxieties of the devotees are at once mitigated when they think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His beautiful form on the smiling face of the Lord. The Lord bestows innumerable favors upon His devotees, and the greatest manifestation of His grace is His smiling face, which is full of compassion for His pure devotees. The yogis should contemplate with full devotion the compassionate glances frequently cast by the Lord's eyes, for they soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of His devotees. His glances, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace. Krishna Krishnaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhavani Prachayane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Asharayani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's interesting, this purport which I just read for the first time, right now with all of you. As long as one is in conditional life in the material body, it's natural to suffer from anxieties and agonies. So we get that part of it. We cannot avoid the influence of the material energy. We get that part of it. Then it says, even when one is on the transcendental plane. So that might cause you to pause and say, wait a minute, how is that? Right? But it can be liberated, we're going to get out of our material condition, and now we're being told you can't avoid the influence of the material energy, which was described as suffering, anxieties, and agonies. So, how are we supposed to understand that? Because it's actually still external. The transcendentalist, the devotee, actually does not suffer. The influence is there, but the suffering is not when one is fully situated with consciousness. And when they come, when these experiences come, and so the agonies and the anxieties, and that's a pretty intense description, agonies and anxieties. Who wants to consider? We have them, but who wants to consider? They may come along even after you're liberated, but actually they're mitigated immediately as soon as the devotee remembers the personality of Godhead. And Arjuna returned after being away. He comes back, and during that time, Krishna had left the world. That is agonies and anxieties for the devotee. The seemingly, of course, Krishna is always in the hearts of devotees. He didn't leave the devotees, but it was a little different. He was there sitting like all of us are sitting together, speaking and talking, interacting. And suddenly, he wasn't there in that particular capacity anymore. And so Arjuna was very morose. And Yudhishthira was trying to determine, and this is the way to ask him all kinds of questions. But it was explained that as soon as Arjuna remembered the instructions of Krishna that were spoken to him face to face, Krishna was speaking to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as soon as he remembered those instructions, the interesting phrase is the trash of the material world, the trash, of the material matter that was, not that he had the material matter, physically within him, but the imprints of the experiences of material life, of material matter, that's what's hanging around, and that's what we're trying to clean off. And as soon as he remembered those instructions, it was gone, just like that. So then that seems kind of simple. All I have to do is remember Krishna, and whenever there's some kind of agony or anxiety, just remember Krishna, it's gone. I mean, that's a fact. If you can actually do that, remember its part successfully. And here is the crux of the matter. Just like when we chant our rounds. We know the mantra. We know we should be fixed on the sounds and the syllables of the mantra. And then comes some little distraction entering into your mind. Now, can you say what about that? Did you see that? Did you hear? wait a minute, Krishna, Krishna. In other words, it's easy, but it's not easy. What to speak at that momentous death. You may not even be in position to remember Krishna. You may just be riding down the road listening to a lecture, or just be having a chit chat with a fellow passenger. You're finished. Happened to three devotees a number of years ago. One from Vrindavan, Bhutan Prabhu. They were happily together, returning to Lajra. Mika was going to fly back to Vrindavan the next day. And they didn't see the semi. And the semi saw them at the last minute. So such a big, huge vehicle, it doesn't just stop on a dime. It takes a lot of space, a lot of footage to stop. So then, what happens there? Actually, Prabhupada was asked the same question. What happens at the time of death? You cannot, for whatever reason, remember Krishna. And Prabhupada looked at the person and said, do you think that Krishna is an ungrateful man? But of course, if we're not, so there's reciprocation even in that condition, but if we're not even trying, if we're not even making the efforts leading up to that, then the reciprocation could be somewhat less. So all this effort we're putting into chanting Hare Krishna, to hearing about Krishna, hearing about his pastimes, hearing about, sometimes people say, why do you want to, in Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, the first chapter, there's all this description of all the warriors who were there, and the list of their names. Why do you have to bother with that? I know people who can write in this second chapter. Why do you have to bother with that? What is this to do with Krishna? It has everything to do with Krishna, because he was there with Krishna on the battlefield. And everybody connected to Krishna on whatever matter. It's very important. But just because those persons who at the time of their death had Krishna practically in their face, and whether they wanted to remember him or not, it is there. So they got a full liberation by his mercy, by his grace. So we have to try our best. We're chanting. I heard something interesting the other day about chanting. Always chanting. So the person who was speaking said, actually, devotees, when they're chanting, you guys over the other hand, they become very expert with their left hand. Doing this, doing that. Busy with the left hand. Not so busy with the right hand. It's a little amusing to think of, but it's also detrimental. We have the time, here it is, that I can somehow or other, it's 16 rounds, not just 16 rounds, probably 16 good rounds. I mean, that's a challenge from, what I've experienced. So, we have to keep on chanting. Keep on chanting, even if we are familiar with that poem. Even if we keep on chanting, keep on chanting, keep on chanting, which is not a license to keep on chanting in a distracted manner. It doesn't matter if it's Krishna or everybody. No, how to do our best. Not even try. We have to do our best. One Bhagavatam at the time, he was kind of criticizing some devotees, some presidents actually. And I said, well, they're trying to do their best. he says, then they have to stop trying and start doing. And when you said that, I said, yeah, that's a fact. It reminded me of the 60s. We just, the 3 word saying, just do it. Whatever, but just do it. Just do it. So same thing around, just do it. But that means with attention. You know. Give the left hand a rest. Right hand. And worry about hearing and chanting. The one should obtain progressive realization of the path of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Stated in Gita 647 that the greatest yogi is one who constantly thinks of Krishna within him. In other words, one is Krishna conscious. Yogi Namaki Sarvesham. And by following the system of yoga, one becomes joyful. We also read in Gita that devotional service is joyfully performed. So, Lord Kapila, in this particular chapter, the personality of Godhead, he's explaining the yoga system known as Ashtanga Yoga. And this Ashtanga Yoga comprises 8 different practices. And through the stages of these different practices is intent on helping one, bringing one to the realization of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Ashtanga Yoga is part of a Vaishnava practice because its goal is realization of Vishnu. And realization of Vishnu is actually the ultimate achievement of yoga. So if one is fortunate enough to transcend the designation of birth in a particular society, particular community, by being elevated to the standard of spiritual identity, then one's swadharma or duty is solely that of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One of the earlier verses, Swadharma Charanam Satya. So as far as possible, we have to become situated in our natural life. Our natural life means our awakened spiritual consciousness of Krishna. And there are the 3 modes of material nature, and in the material world, people are affected by these various modes, the sattva-gun, rajagun, tamagun. The Shastra has made the path so clear that any one of these, the sattva-gun, rajagun, tamagun, anyone, you can make spiritual progress because we'll be situated in either of these or even in a mixture. And Prabhupada gave an example, just like on a train. There's first class, second class, third class. So either you place yourself in the first class compartment or the second class compartment or third class, you'll go. When the train starts, you'll go. It's not because if you're situated in the third class compartment, that part of the train is not going. So Bhagavad Gita teaches that one can go back home, back to God in any position, any condition, provided he knows how to address the situation. And that means understanding your condition or your conditioning and taking the necessary steps to extricate yourself from that condition. So Prabhupada said that is a trick. But we should always think of Krishna even when we're engaged in our occupational duties. So the actual swadharma is to be attached to Krishna because we are his part and parcel. And religious practices should be executed only to gain freedom from material nature. It's stated in the beginning of Bhagavatam that the topmost religious practice is that by which one can attain transcendental devotional service to Krishna. And that means without any reason or without cause. In other words, no strings attached, no fine print. So such religious practice is never hampered by the impediments, and by its performance, then we actually become satisfied. But there's an effort that must be made, and that's up to us. So we can understand these 3 modes, and from any one of the modes we can take steps to make some level of advancement. But we're still caught up in some modes, so the real thing is to step out of it. And that begins by remembering Krishna. So it's confirming the Krishna, the original Purusha, Purusha Sattvam. We must concentrate the mind on the person of Krishna. Worship the deity form of Krishna daily. There's no, for the devotees, there's no engagement with the Ramajoti, for example, the impersonal aspect of Krishna. It's there, it's important, but it's not the connectivity that we desire. And just like, if you look at the sun sometimes, it causes you a temporary blindness, isn't it? And that happened yesterday. So I had these dark glasses on to kind of protect my eyes from the color. I took them off and just happened to look up at the sun. I just couldn't see anything for a moment. So the Brahma Jyotis like that can definitely be bewildering. But our business is to connect with the form of Krishna. Brahmacharis practice celibacy. The sex life is restricted, should be restricted to married persons. And Prabhupada taught that Shastra teaches person whose sex life is restricted to marriage is also called Brahmachari. When we left for the UK, some married couples, when the lady Prabhupada was commenting how these Gurus, he said sannyasis, but they didn't accomplish, they didn't start anything. And had some more programs and had some nice people. I think there was one or two initiated, but there was no substance of the art. He says, I'm sending grihastas. He says, my grihastas, they're better than sannyasis. Grihastas sannyasi. Then astayam means to read. So these are things to help us connect. Astayam means to refrain from theft. So I'm sure nobody in this room is considering you may be a thief. Unless you are one. In a broad sense, so everyone accumulates more than one needs as a thief. You don't use the washroom, so take more than your life. Because according to spiritual communism, one should not possess more than they need for their personal maintenance. So if one is simply accumulating wealth without spending for sacrifice or worship of the personality of Godhead is the key, there's the trick. And you're a great thief. So Prabhupada told the story of Alexander the Great. You've heard of Alexander the Great, he was the great conqueror. And he arrested a thief. The thief says, why are you arresting me? You're also a thief. Keep going and you're conquering and you're taking these lands, you're just a bigger thief. And instead of becoming angry, he thought about it and he agreed. Yes, that's a fact. Which is one level or the other, unless we're connecting to Krishna and offering everything to Krishna, that we're all thieves. Could be a new form of preaching. Do you consider yourself a thief? No. Well, are you offering everything to Krishna? Well, no. Well, then you are a thief. But then, anyway, Swadhyaya means reading the authorized Vedic scriptures. So even if one is not Krishna conscious and is practicing yoga, many people practicing yoga that have no interest or thought of Krishna, so they're doing that. But still, it's recommended to read the standard Vedic literatures in order to properly understand. Because actually, this performing of yoga, just that alone is sufficient. So Narottam Das Thakur, great devotee, great Acharya in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Thank you so much. He just came. He was saying that all spiritual activities must be understood from three sources. So what are those three sources? Saintly persons, maybe saintly persons, the standard or authorized scriptures, and spiritual master, Guru Bhagavatam. So these three guides are very important to progress in spiritual life. And the spiritual master prescribes standard literature for the prosecution or the prosecution of the yoga or devotional service, and speaks only from these scriptural references. So therefore, reading these standard scriptures is necessary for executing yoga. So for us, Prabhupada has given a tremendous library of standard scriptures. And the main, these aren't the only, but the main books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, etc. Sri Upanishad. These are our basic standard scriptures. There's Purushar Chanam, means worshiping the personality of Godhead, especially in the form of Krishna. So the Gita is confirmed by Arjuna that Krishna is the Ego Purusha, the personality of Godhead. Is Purusham Sashvatam. That's Krishna. And therefore, the yoga practice, one must not only concentrate our mind on the person of Krishna, but also worship and serve the form of the deity daily. When we talk about devotional service, it's inherent that there is a person. I mean, you can say you service your car, you have to take it in and change the oil, change the tires. That's not the same thing. When we speak about devotional service, it means there's a person, and that person is Krishna. So the yoga practices in general, Bhakti yoga in particular, they're not ends in themselves, rather they're means to attain steadiness. So one must be able to sit properly, and mind, the intention will become steady, enough for practicing yoga. There was, I don't hear it so much, if at all, anymore, a beautiful tape, Prabhupada chanting japa. And somewhere in the middle of that tape is sit properly. And just it doesn't matter who you were or whether you were speaking to one person, but as soon as you heard sit properly, everybody just said, what, when you slouch, your mind slouches, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was really strict. And sometimes they would be going on a train. I wish I was about to say they're going somewhere on a train. And they were like third class, we would call third class on the boards. Means there was no padding on the seats. So how comfortable would that be, especially like on a 3-day journey? And he would walk through and he would observe, and if he saw one of the brahmacharis leaning back on the wooden backboard, he would chastise him. You were just trying to be comfortable. You were just, you were being influenced by sex life. So sit properly, Samadhi It's not an artificial bodily state. It's a state achieved when the mind is fully absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the real yogi is a devotee because his mind is always concentrated on the pastimes of Lord Krishna, making Krishna consciousness the foremost notice system. So if you're new and you don't know so much, you know, how can I think about the pastimes of Krishna? And Prabhupada is so kindly arranged the Krishna book, which is dedicated to the personal pastimes of Lord Krishna. So the sitting in an upright posture is called Swashti Salasana. Swashti Salasana. It's also recommended in the 6th chapter of the Gita, and it's further suggested one sit in a secluded spot. And the seat should consist of a deerskin and kusha grass topped with cotton. So here we are, we're sitting, but this is a temple. And it is a secluded spot from all the chaos of the world outside. No need for deerskin or kusha grass topped with cotton. It would be good to have a little asana. I don't know what happened to these little mats. Are they there? Okay, so something. But Prabhupada established these temples as sanctified places to worship, to practice Krishna consciousness. We don't have to find a forest. I mean, nowadays, you can't even find an undisturbed forest. Some kind of huge vehicle suddenly comes through, knocking the trees down, knocking everything down, trying to dig up the earth to look for oil or gas and precious minerals, or some huge drone from some other place will come over and see what you're doing. Because it's just really hard to find a secluded spot. I don't recommend going to the forest, but what kind of forest, and where are you going to find such a forest? Even you go into the Himalayas. So I watched this little short snippet because some people were going on Mount Everest, like the tallest mountain in the world. Oh my God, it was this big long line of people. And there were big drones flying. That's how I could see it too, because the drone was flying overhead and you could see this. And I'm thinking, these foolish people, so much money is wasted to climb this mountain. You paid thousands and thousands of dollars to climb this mountain. And then what? So what? Some people don't even make it up. Some people don't make it down. I mean, alive. And they're not thinking about Krishna. They're thinking about, I climbed Mount Everest. So get another notch on their belt or whatever. But we don't want to be like that. We don't need these, artificial achievements. We want to achieve the pure loving emotional service of Krishna. Breathing exercises are there, and they're performed to control the mind and fix it on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Savimana Krishna, the great devotee, Maharaj Ambarish, she fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. Just like what Chaitanya Sadahari, we should always be chanting Hare Krishna. How is that possible? Don't I have to sleep at least a minimal amount of time? But when one is fully connecting oneself, connected with Lord Krishna, even the sleep you have to take, you'll be hearing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Has anybody ever not noticed when you spend an entire day chanting, say like maybe a Rath Yatra festival, you just can't get it out of your mind. and you go to sleep and you'll be hearing and chanting in your sleep. So it's not impossible. It's completely possible. So this practicing yoga system of exercise, breath control, very difficult in this age. This age is an age of great disturbance. So all glories are given to chanting the holy names of Krishna, because as soon as one begins this process of chanting, the mind starts to become purified. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya practiced and recommended Chaitanya Sarahari, showing by his own example. So ultimately, one has to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not on his personal form, not his Prabhajoti, not declaring effulgence, in order to be elevated to the transcendental position. And in that position, one does not any longer become affected by his ego-central nature. Confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, one who engages himself in unalloyed devotional service at once becomes transcendental to the ultimate field nature. Immediately realizes one's identification as Brahman spirit. Sadhanam samadhitayam vimanuyapapate. So there's a process to even meditating on Krishna, on the Supreme. And that's also given in different places in the Bhagavatam. So like on the verse 13, the color of the personality of God and Krishna, it was mentioned, Nilot Pavadala. So meaning it's like that, the color, this color is like that of a lotus flower with petals tinted blue and white. Like in Vrindavan, we have that lotus pond. And right now it's in full bloom. Next week it's, Janmashtami. And somehow or other, in the blink of an eye, all of those lotus flowers are going to disappear and join Radha Vrindavan Chandra on their altar. But we don't have any blue lotuses. There are different forms of pink, white. But nonetheless, Krishna, Nilot Pala, lotus flowers, petals, tinted blue and white. The color of the Lord has not been imagined by an artist. Prabhupada cautioned that you don't think you can just take a paintbrush and blue paint and paint Krishna blue. There were some temples at one point that kind of did like that. That was not authorized, not notified, it's not how it works. It's described in the authoritative scriptures like the Brahma Samhita, where the color of Krishna's body is compared to that of a bluish cloud. And the color of the Lord is not poetical or imagination, it's real. These authoritative descriptions are in the Brahma Samhita and Bhagavatam, the Gita, and many other puranas about the Lord's body, his weapons, and all other paraphernalia. But when we hear about Krishna being blue, when we think about blue, it's kind of like, you might say flat. It's a flat color. It might be maybe some little shimmering. But we can't even imagine what is this blue of Krishna. This blackish blue like a rain cloud. We get these are some just a way of trying to help us understand Krishna's appearance. But until we actually see Krishna face to face, without any impediments in our vision, the best we can do is try to understand. And Krishna is so nice, he just comes here, he's standing on our altar. He's so sweetly smiling. Yesterday, I really felt like he was so happy with all of you. He was just so happy with all of you and for the endeavor that had come about. And today during Mangalarti, I was seeing, he was so happy with Mrs. Pujari, and both of them. And I was seeing the Pujari so intensely offering his devotion through the items he was offering to them. Mayavadis think because one's unable to fix his mind on the impersonal existence of the absolute truth, that you're free to just make any kind of imaginary form that you like. In other words, fix your mind, you can think of something, fix your mind on it, but that is not recommended. Imagination is always imagination. And what is the result? Further imagination or illusion. So Chaitanya Chaitanya Chari Lila 5.42 Kalias or Krishna Arasada Richa. The Supreme Lord is Krishna, and everyone else, including Lord Shiva and Lord Rama, all other demigods are all servants of Krishna. We should be so happy to be counted among the servants of Krishna. For some people, being a servant does not sound like a very elevated position. And yet, for the devotee, servitorship actually elevates us to the highest position. The mind of conditioned souls, because on account of association with material energy from time immemorial, contains heaps of dirt in the form of desires. We've got, when we start seeing our attempts to control over material nature, our attempts to control, we can understand there's some dirt there. So Prabhupada describes it, this dirt is like a mountain, but a mountain can be shattered by the hit of a thunderbolt. And meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord acts like the thunderbolt on a mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi. So those practicing yoga must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time after following regulated principles and controlling the senses. Specifically for the Bhagavatas, Charanara, and Vindam, one has to think of the lotus feet of the Lord. My bodies imagine one can think of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, or Goddess Durga to achieve liberation. That is not substantiated in the Shastra. Bhagavatam specifically mentioned, it means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and no one else. So I can see this.
9:23.
Okay. So the 9 processes for executing devotional service, smaran, meditation is one. The yogis take advantage of the smaran, but the bhakti yogis take special advantage of the hearing and chanting. The wheel in Lord Krishna's hand, that Sudarshan chakra, has 1,000 spokes, and the yogis advise meditate on each one of the spokes. But we have the Vishnu Smaran, Sahasradam, we can do that. But we have to come to the understanding of Krishna's supremacy. So it's advised to make our relationship with Krishna stronger, not to think that Krishna has no head, no hand. The Sarvabhaya Shamstitam. So his avaya, the different parts of his body, are different from our conception. I have hand, Krishna also has a hand. I see my hands moving, but because of my conditioning, I'm not seeing Krishna's hand moving. His hand may move or not move, it doesn't matter. He can still, with his hand, do so many things that interchange with other parts. Like he can see with his hand, he can, I'm working, he can read with it on, turn the pages, or tap on the computer or something with your hand. Krishna doesn't have to make that physical attempt. It is happening through his desire. And when we're purified, we also will not have to worry about, like you want to make a garland for Krishna? No problem. It's there in your hands, ready to offer. So strengthen our relationship with Krishna And the thing is, you know, he can capture the food we offer. You may not see it, but if it's being offered in one's consciousness, he'll take it, he will accept. Same time, we have to be careful. Prabhupada was very disturbed one time in Hyderabad. He would always ask for the Mahaprasad, because from the Mahaprasad, you can understand the consciousness of that particular place. So he got this Mahaprasad, and he was, what is this garbage? I mean, not funny. What a strong word, strong condemnation. What is this garbage? Do you think that you stick something on a plate, ring a bell, and mumble some mantras that Krishna has to accept? He doesn't have to accept. It's for us. Let me give the best to Krishna. Let me offer the best in the best way for Krishna. And if we're in that consciousness, he will accept. He's not obliged to accept. You know? Be very careful, you know, especially like when you're cooking and you're making fruits, and there's a, you know, you make sure the fruits are all fresh. If there's a rotten spot, that one doesn't get offered. You know? Anyways, he appears before us, stone, as a so-called statue, but he has got all the capacity in the limbs of the body. Sarva Vaya Vaya. He has appeared before us so we can see him, we can serve him. And it's recommended that we must see each and every part of the body of Krishna. That is the meditation. So by the worship, we see the lotus feet, the ankle, on and on, each and every part. Krishna's here, Krishna's there. That's the meditation. It's not a theory. Krishna's there. He's there. Some people think, well, Krishna's everywhere, so why do we need to go to the temple? I've heard devotees even say that. You know, shame, shame. Krishna's come here to this temple for us. And we think, oh, I don't need to come here, he's here. Yes, he's everywhere in his unmanifested form, but here he is manifest in front of us so that we can actually see his beautiful, beautiful, bending third form with the sweetness hand. Yeah. So we should study his heritage, his feet, the feet and the hands. The feet are marked with different marks. His hand is like this, his fingers like that, his hair is like this. We should see these things. His eyes are like that. We should study minutely. That is meditation, and it will help us think of Krishna constantly. And that is trance, samadhi. It's practical, not imaginary. My body said, that's imagination. No, it's not. It's confirmed. Shastra, Sadhu, Guru. And, you know, not just take a look, study carefully, starting at the feet. Look at his beautiful toes, the colors of his toenails. See the ankle bracelets. They should be there. Hopefully they're there, you know. And you see the calves on the, oh, what color is his belly today? Oh, what color is the trim? Oh, what is his belt like today? You know, satin around his waist. Like, sometimes I've asked them, shut your eyes. Okay, shut your eyes. Everybody shut your eyes. Shut your eyes. And I'm going to ask you a question. With your eyes closed, what's the color of Krishna's sash today? Huh? Anybody remember? The sash. Around the waist. Anyway. So sometimes, of course, today was kind of easy because it's a college. But you know, we should be concerned with these details. Details are not like not important. These are all connected to Krishna. Where's this necklace? You know, what kind of flowers are in the garland? What is this earrings like? Sometimes it's mentioned by the sharp-shaped earrings. Do we have any short shape earrings here? Yes, very good. You know, so, but we should be looking with great detail at the intricacy of the turban and the decorations that's on the turban. Right around his neck choker. It's very nice here, right around his garland is made in proportion to the size. This is so nice. I'll go to the garland. So these details should be observed and meditated on. And then you feel like, can't wait for the next day to see what will you be wearing? You know, what's Radharani wearing? And then the next day, and so we become anxious to see Krishna. That kind of anxiousness is healthy. That's Krishna's anxiousness. One time one devotee told Prabhupada, who's a Pujari, that says, I'm always in anxiety. I'm in anxiety about, have I pleased Krishna? Is he pleased with my service? What can I do about this anxiety? And Prabhupada laughed. He goes, this you want. This is Krishna anxiety. Because you're always thinking about serving Krishna. This is Krishna anxiety. We want that anxiety. It's not like mundane anxiety. So we have our acharyas, they're instructing us, the Bhagavatam is instructing us, the Gita is instructing us. We have to follow. If we can't follow, then we should see how the acharyas, what are they doing? What did they do? This Mahajanamina, Kata Sapata. One who has followed the path of the Mahajans, who have taken to the path of devotional service and are liberated. And in this way, we can make our life also perfect. A few words. Any comments, questions?
You said when someone like on his deathbed, they should remember Krishna. One should remember Krishna on the deathbed.
Yeah, but it might not be easy.
Yeah, right. So
Because think about even at night when you're trying to go to sleep, and all this stuff starts coming in your mind. You want to sleep. And just all this stuff percolates in your mind.
but
So, you know, on the deathbed, it's not that we can automatically remember. Therefore, we have to practice.
So there are many ways, like in a day-to-day basis, we remember Krishna. Like for example, it's very nice, wow, Krishna is very nice. And sometimes we remember Krishna as like, Krishna, why did you do this? And sometimes we're like, Krishna, we're in anxiety, like, I forgot this, now I'm in this situation, please help me out. So when we are in dying and the deathbed, like, how do we want to remember Krishna as like, Krishna, I'm grateful to you that you gave this life, or Krishna, I'm in pain, I'm going to die, help me out. Or what is that particular mode with how to remember, like that remembrance should be like?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. That's how we remember Krishna. And then Krishna, by remembering him, automatically his pastimes become manifest. We can chanting, his smiling face will be manifest. It's not that we have to, you know, park the car of our memory in a certain place in a certain way. Krishna comes automatically. And hearing the devotees calling him to chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Chaitanya Sada Hari. Okay, so thank you all very much. Everybody can wake up now. It's after breakfast prasadam, and then the cleanup festival.
Prabhu ki
Jai.